this song for ya.
You're listening to Deep Purple Smoke on the Podcast. I will do one episode for each song the band recorded in the studio. However, this is a fan podcast and not band endorsed. It's more of a tribute to their long history, well beyond just the hits, and my way of giving something back to a band that has given so much to me. Let's dig in! Hello and welcome to another episode of Deep Purple Smoke on the Podcast. I am your host, Scott Haskin, crawling our way towards the finish line of our first review of Splat. And today's song is, it's hard to follow Jessica's Bra Bar. That's a tough act to follow, but we're going to try. This song today is called Third Call, and I don't know if that is after last call, before last call, if it's even bar related, could be something completely different. We're going to find out. Another one that I honestly don't remember by name because I wasn't learning the songs by name as I was listening to them the first couple times. But before I get into the song, I just want to point out, I was thinking about it a little bit after the last episode, and I'm honestly not sure I'll be ready in a month to dig into these songs again. I don't know if that's enough time away from a critical review to really look objectively at it and not have too much of what I already had said on my mind, not necessarily being open to seeing past the things that were my initial impressions. So I'm not actually sure I'm going to do this in August. I may wait until after the Samhain podcast is over, which I think is sometime in November. I don't know. We'll see. I don't want to do too many podcasts at the same time. I'm doing that show on the same schedule I'm doing this one. So it's Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. I still got Haskin Cast on Wednesday with the occasional interview, Cherry Red Records review that double up other days already. So, I mean, people can only listen to so much. And I hope that, people who are interested in what I'm doing have the opportunity to listen to all the things I'm doing if they want to. And I don't want to overload too much. I've already got people telling me that I put out way too much content as it is. And that is because I keep a very busy schedule. So, I'm not sure when I'm going to do that season. I want to be fair and upfront about that. I think it'll come down to when I feel it's the right time to record it. If I decide during the Samhain podcast that it is the right time to record, what I may do is do it on a different schedule. Do Saturdays and Sundays, for a few weeks until I'm through the album. I don't know. We'll see. My suggestion would be, if you want to hear that season, stay on whatever app you're listening to the show on, or stay connected to whichever social you get the feed releases on. That could be my Blue Sky, that could be my Instagram or the Facebook group, and there's links to the show to those sites in the show notes, but also you can look on the website, but you'll get the notification if you just stay subscribed to whatever podcast player that you listen to, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, wherever you're listening. That's probably going to be my best suggestion, because you'll get the quickest notification that it's out there. And I hope that whenever I'm ready to do that, you'll come back and listen and see. I'm not going to remember a damn thing I said in this season. So by that point, I won't anyway. So as I'm listening to the songs, I might remember, oh yeah, I couldn't hear Roger's bass here, or this still feels weird to me, stuff like that. But as far as, specific things I said during the season, I don't remember what I said yesterday. So in all fairness, I just have too many things going on. Like, once I'm done with something, it goes out of my head. When I finish recording this episode, I'll already be on to doing something else while this is rendering, and I'll pretty much have forgotten everything I said during that time for the most part. I may recall some of that stuff when I start listening to the songs again, but for the most part, I'm like, just clear the cache, because I need to make room for the next thing I'm doing. And that's part of why I'm able to jump from one thing to another, because I can not be tied to other things. I'm able to focus pretty tightly on whatever I'm working on, except for, okay, I have to remember I need to do this and this and this, which I'm just now writing down into a spreadsheet so that I don't forget all the things I need to do. and really trying to keep my mind clear for whatever it is I'm working on. So it's funny. I mean, even these episodes, if you guys comment and say, "Oh, you said this," or not, I probably won't remember I said it. So it's weird. I know for you guys because you listen to the episode and you're like, "Oh, there's things I want to talk about," or "I want to tell him about this thing he commented on," and I really do appreciate it. I really do. It's not that I'm blowing anybody off. It's just already been wiped from my mind because I need to make room for the next thing that I'm doing, whether that be tonight, tomorrow night, whatever that is. A lot of times when I finish the podcast, I'll do a little bit of the rendering and I'll save it to render during the next day while I'm doing other things, so that I'm more active. I'm trying to maximize the time that I have because there's just so much on my plate to do. And in the middle of this, I'm trying to write a new album, trying to find time to carve out where I can really focus on that and give that the attention it deserves and make that the best I feel I can be. So it really is a lot. And but please don't think that I don't appreciate your comments, your feedback, your thoughts, because I really do. It's just that you guys hear this, a week or so. Some of these are months after I recorded them. If you're just joining the beginning of the show now, I recorded some of these a year and a half ago. So I just don't remember the things that I said during that time. And honestly, that's the case with a lot of podcasters. They want podcasts in the bank so that if they have a week where they can't record or a couple of weeks where they can't record, personal things come up, they have those so that they don't miss an episode. We know that you guys become dependent on these for your schedule. That is very important. I do the same thing with the shows that I listen to. And so when one of your shows misses a week, it kind of throws it off a little bit. And so I personally, I'm very, very adamant about consistency in my schedule. I know times in the past, I've let the Haskincast podcast go for a little while because I just was too busy with other things. But honestly, I've been able to keep that show on track for the last couple of years without missing an episode and actually doing a ton of bonus episodes. So it is appreciated, but do keep in mind that a lot of times we record these very much in advance. Or if you're Corey Morissette, you'll hear him say a lot, we got to wrap this up because the show's supposed to air in an hour and I've got to get it edited and uploaded. So a lot of times he's really brave. I would be far too nervous. I think I would rush through the episode, but he's very good at that. He works he works for a production company. They do a lot of live broadcasts. He does a lot of sporting events. So he's used to, we have 5 seconds to get this done, and he functions very, very well in that world. And I really admire that. I would not do that. I mean, my next podcast won't be airing for, what is it, July, August, September. So it's not even going to air for 3 months. And the whole thing's been in the can for 6 months since I finished recording those episodes. I am much more of a planner, way ahead. I want to know that everything's lined up and worked out so that I don't have to stress over it. I really admire that quality in Corey, that he can work right up to the last minute and be okay with it. That would drive me absolutely nuts. But I will say really quickly, as a reminder, keep out your ears for our new podcast that's going to be coming out this fall, the WKRP Rewatch podcast that we're doing, God is My Witness. And of course, that will be announced on the social. If you go to my Instagram, there is, I have a couple different Instagrams. I have one for Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. And the reason that I have that as a separate one is because that was before I integrated all the podcasts onto one feed, and it will not let me merge those. So a lot of people would miss the announcements if I drop that because there are quite a few people that follow that. So that would be kind of inconsiderate and inconvenient to them. So that has its own, but all my other podcasts come under Scott Haskin Podcasts at Instagram. And then I have Music and Books is another Instagram profile that I have. So that would be a good place to keep an eye out for all of that stuff. I'll be announcing it there, and Blue Sky and Facebook, obviously. I'm sure I'll start up a group for that. I've already got web pages ready to go. Too early to launch those because we're not ready to launch the show yet, but we have started recording. It's a lot of fun. We've recorded a couple episodes, and I love recording with Corey. He's a great co-host. We work really well together, and I can't speak for him, but I can say I'm having a blast working with him again. So that being said, let's get into today's song, Third Call by Deep Purple. Okay, before anything else comes in, because I feel that's about to happen. I don't remember, but I feel that's about to happen. Would be pretty typical for Deep Purple. I love the sound of the organ here. This is amazing. The tones that we're getting on the low end, and then the main lead of this is just phenomenal. I love the difference between the first chord and the second chord, the tonality difference. I love that grit in the bass chord. Like, this is really such a fantastic sound. Little ominous, I feel. So that's interesting. I can't tell whether it's like an element of darkness or an element of mystery, but I'm leaning towards darkness. Then again, I'm a huge fan of horror movies, so my mind probably just tends to go there naturally anyway, but we'll see where it goes. I am perplexed. This is absolutely amazing. I love the guitar that we're getting from Simon in the right ear. Very Jimi Hendrixy feeling to it, but it's the rhythm that comes in, because as many times as I just played it back, trying to figure out exactly when it should happen, it's completely off time. If you're tapping your foot, to what Don's playing, the whole thing just comes in off time, and you would not expect that. So again, another surprise way that they're introducing the rhythm section. They've tricked me a few times on this album. I'm going to be interested to see how long it takes me to get used to some of these intros, because they are very different and unexpected. I feel like I've said this before, but I feel like they're putting in a real conscious effort to do things that are different on this album. And, you can do something of style on an album without it being a concept album. Perfect example would be their first album, Shades of Deep Purple, where you have all these interesting sounds starting off each song, whether it's traffic or wildlife or rain sounds or whatever, or the wolf for Hush. Like, everything was started off by some kind of sound except for And the Address, because that was a minute of keyboards. They really didn't need anything on top of that. You had the rain for One More Rainy Day, the traffic and stuff for, I think it was Hey Joe. So you can have a theme without it being a concept album. And I feel like something they really worked in as a theme was just doing things that were odd. And they're so good at pulling it off. I'm very, very impressed with that.
You got me on the third call. I wasn't gonna answer at all, but I guessed it was you, so it didn't ring true. I was curious.
This is very interesting and unexpected. I really dig the feel of this. I honestly don't remember listening to this song. I know I listened to the whole album twice, but I try to focus, but I would imagine I probably got pulled away, thought I had given it a good listen. I honestly don't remember this, but I will say I really like it. It's unique. It's not an uncommon beat, but it's something I haven't heard in a while. It's something I've not really heard them do. So this is kind of fresh and unique for them. I like the way that they burst into that, what I'm guessing will probably be the chorus, and then back into the verse again. I really like the transitions, but it just feels good. It's very interesting and intriguing. Not sure about the story here or the lyrics, but we'll see as the song goes on, and we'll see what they do with these parts.
I'm kind of nervous too. It was quiet at first, then you said a few words. Something I heard in the breath of your voice, and then I had no choice, girl.
Yeah, I'm really not sure how I feel about these lyrics still. They seem a little underdeveloped, I want to say. But here's what I'm getting. Like, what if he's writing this from the perspective of, say, a teenage boy? He's excited that this person is calling him. At first, he's kind of annoyed. And then, he finally is like, fine, I'll answer the phone. And then he's like, wow, something about the voice is just kind of drawing me in a little bit. And I'm not sure, but I feel like the words themselves, like the lyrics are, I don't know, just not what I would expect from Ian and Roger. They feel a little too rhymey, whereas normally they can make things rhyme without it being obvious. I just feel like it's obvious, like this is from the point of somebody youthful that doesn't have the experience to write I don't want to say more intelligently because that sounds mean, and I don't mean it that way. I would say youthful, like just lacking the experience of finding a better prose, or way of expressing their thoughts and feelings. And maybe that's it. Maybe that's the perspective of the song.
Soaked up the essence of you. Should have been impossible, but there it was, of course, and total surrender. I lost.
Did he say there it wasable? I mean, that I could see Ian saying something like that. He's quite the wordsmith, and not past him to make something up if it. If you could tell, because a lot of times he'll do things where you can tell what he's talking about, and it's not very plausible. There it was, like I could see what he would mean by that if that's actually what he said. That's kind of funny. Boy, I'm not sure what that part is because it doesn't feel like it's a chorus because it didn't really expand into anything. It feels like just a slight bridge, maybe. Something to break up this rhythm and feel that we're getting in the verses. But so far, I mean, we're a minute and 16 in, and it's just kind of like, a couple lines this part, a couple lines this part. Really interesting arrangement that we're getting here, and I'm very curious to see where the song is going.
I lost my mind again. How easily you muddy my brain. You know what they say, it's never the same. The last time was nothing but pleasure and pain. Remind myself of one little thing. I'm gonna melt you so damn hot. Baby, you don't know what you got.
Boy, leave it to Don Airy to throw in some color there. I'm not sure exactly what he was playing underneath of that last couple lines there. It could have been like a muted marimba that just didn't have any decay to it. It sounded, like just hitting a flat metal bar without the ring out of it. So it could have been, a sound like that. Obviously, you've got filters and things that you can really shape the sounds in a keyboard. And, you can always have somebody program a specific sound that you want. When I interviewed Phil Lanson from Uriah Heep, we were talking about that because there was a programmer credit in the album. And I asked him, what that's all about. And that's basically it. Like a lot of times they don't have time to do that. They're the performers. They would hire somebody to say, okay, so here's the sound I need. Here's what I'm going for. I want I want the sound of a marimba, but I want it to be really flat and muted, almost like you're hitting a plastic pitch and, or like bones are rattling together in a bag. Like that's kind of the sound I want. And so the programmer comes in, he does a couple things, sends the sound over. Is this what you're looking for? Yes or no. Can you do this with it or that with it to kind of shape it? And you go back and forth until they give you the sound that you want. I would imagine Don is probably fairly active about creating his sounds, but you know what? When you're playing as many shows as they are, you don't have access to your rig a lot of times between shows because it's in a truck being taken to the next venue. If you're playing 2 nights in a row, like your gear's at the stage, so you'd have to go to the arena, get through security, all that good stuff to work on stuff. So I would imagine it's fairly limiting the actual time that you have with your gear to be able to do those kinds of things. So but it may have been a stock sound that was already in the keyboard too. That's very possible. But I love that sound. It's very interesting. I also love the way that it's blended in there. I think the engineer did a really, really good job on not making that stick out too far and distract, but I definitely pick up on it, and I love that. Also, so instead of just getting like the one line, now we're getting 4 lines of this chorus. Again, lots of repeats of 4 on this album, so that's interesting. But it had some good power to it. I love the sound of the vocals in this. I guess now I can call it a chorus, but really nice. I'm enjoying the song. I'm going to have to check and see what the builds are, because I feel like, at least in that last verse, there was some stuff from Simon that I wasn't hearing in earlier verses. So I think they are doing a little bit of a build or just changing things to make it more interesting from verse to verse. But still not sure about the story. Like, why didn't he pick up the phone the first time? If this person is so tantalizing and so interesting, and they obviously have a connection, they've had, some kind of pleasurable and painful relationship, whether it be sexual or emotional or whatever that might be, just confiding in each other. I mean, I don't know what it is, but obviously this is a person of interest. So why wait until the third time they call to pick up? Very interesting. A nice return to the opening riff, and again it feels a little bit dark. And now that I'm hearing the lyrics, like whatever the trepidation is that prevented our storyteller here from picking up on the first two calls, waiting for that third one to finally give in, might be telltale of why we have a little bit of a dark part in here, why it opened that way to set that tone. And then, of course, we're returning to it here as we're about to get into the solos. That was a nice transition. I also really like what Ian Pace is playing here. You know, I feel like I've been a little bit hard on him since Perfect Strangers, but when I think of what he's capable of, the creativity that he has and that we've heard in so many of the songs of the 70s era, stuff he did with Whitesnake, where he started to get a little bit more straightforward as a player, but there's still some great stuff on Whitesnake. I think one of his best albums, honestly, was Come Taste the Band as far as rhythmic ideas go. But I love when he kind of goes off like this. If you think of like the end of Battle Rages On, for example, those, just those drum fills in that section are so much fun. And I feel like he just gets to be unleashed. I think the thing that bothers me about the direction that he's taken is it's too casual for me. I want to hear him be creative and do some cool fills and different transitions. And I feel like there's just like a handful that he is like, this is my bread and butter, and these are the ones that I'm sticking to. And every once in a while, I'll do something outside of that. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we really don't have a right to ask anything out of anybody. But when I think about his creativity and what he's capable of, I'm like, okay, yeah, there's that fill again. Yeah, it works, but I kind of want something different here. Give me something exciting, something to focus on, or something to go, wow, I need to learn how he did that. And I just don't feel like I get that much anymore. So it is a little bit disappointing to me, but I'm not saying the playing doesn't work for the songs, because it certainly does. I could also say the same about a drummer like Cozy Powell. You listen to him on Rainbow Rising and you're like, man, this guy is a beast. And then you listen to him on Slide It In and there's like hardly a drum fill on the whole album. I don't even know if they needed to mic the toms at all, except for a floor tom. I mean, it's a really bare bones drumming. Even I would say Down to Earth is very subdued drum wise compared to like the stuff he did on Rising or even Long Live Rock and Roll. And, I've seen what he's capable of. So it's like, yeah, if you feel like that's what the song needs and you're playing for the song, that's certainly fine. But it didn't used to be that way. It used to be you played what you felt, and it wasn't so much a focus on, here's the way I'm supposed to play now. It was, here's the way we're playing the song. And I just feel like we've lost a little bit of that. We decide the music instead of we let the music decide us when it comes to the drums. I think that's one of the things about Slide It In that's such a mystery to me, why I love that album so much, because it almost checks none of the boxes that I would look for in an album, except for good riffs, great vocals, great guitar solos. But it's just so straightforward and repetitive that is an album I really should not like, but yet I absolutely love it. I do not understand my own taste. And that, I think, is part of why I'm all about just listen to the song, listen to the parts, like what you like, dislike what you dislike, and let that be it. It's not a competition. You don't have to go, well, I only like metal, so I won't listen to anything else, or I only like country and western, I don't care about rock and roll. Like, just take everything as it is, judge it, or let yourself feel it the way you feel it, which is kind of where I came up with the Haskins scale. And just decide, this is for me or this is not for me, or I really like that part, the rest of the song just doesn't really do it for me. It's all about that connection to the song, which is why I have the approach I do on these podcasts. So I will say, drums overall over the last 40 years since Perfect Strangers, oh my God, I will be in the corner turning to dust, because that really just hit me right now. What was that? 84, 80, 85, I think. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to go make a doctor's appointment. Okay, my initial thoughts here are I'm a little disappointed. It's a fine solo, but I feel like it's a solo that we've heard in a song recently where, okay, I'm going to play at this tempo, then I'm going to double it and do some tapping and then come out of that and go back into another solo again. Like, I just feel like we've done this already on this album. Also, this is another time where they've gone from something interesting into something straightforward for the solo instead of creating a different space for it, which I feel like you could really do with the setup that we have. It's gone from, that dark opening to the explanation, and we're kind of drawing out the story a little bit. Then that dark opening repeats, but with Ian Pace going off a little bit. And now we're just back to some kind of happy rock and roll beat. And it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. So this is, I think, one of those songs that might just have to grow on me over time as far as that transition goes. As a producer, I just don't like the choice. I mean, the solo is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. If I hadn't heard something similar on a recent song, I'd probably like it more. And it will probably grow on me over time. It'll just become a part of the song, and that'll be that. I won't think about it much more beyond that. But for now, yeah, a little disappointed, but that's just me. Oh, nice transition coming out of the solo section. I like that. I actually find this interesting that the keyboard solo is much longer than the guitar solo was. Love the performance here. I think there's a lot of great stuff in here, but there is another sound. It wasn't quite a brass synth, but something kind of similar maybe underneath of it. And it was kind of competing with the organ solo, which again, you're playing a solo that should be out front. Everything else should be supportive and not competing. And that, again, would be more of an issue with the mix, I think, than the performance, because it was just dialed up too loud for my taste and cutting into the organ solo. A lot of keyboard and organ sound will cross-reference frequencies, so you have to be really careful how you display them. And I think there was some crossover here that took away a little bit from the keyboard solo, but the performance was great. I love some of these ideas in there. Both of the solos flowed very nicely. Don't get me wrong. I think that they're very well played, very well performed. I just disagree with the fact that I heard a similar solo from Simon recently, including the tapping part, and I don't know. I don't know why you do that, but the performance of each one is great. It's just we kind of heard that already.
Third call. We both know it's purely physical. There's no time for subtle, it's all sweat and muscle. We'll be together forever and nowhere. Then we go.
So I went back and checked the last verse or two, and I could hear Roger in there. I didn't really notice it before. I can hear him a little bit more prominently here. So I think he's branching out a little more either aggressively or with a wider range of frequencies that are cutting through a little bit more. But yeah, I really enjoy that. I like the transition here. That's good. Vocals sound good. I like this part. I think it's really cool. And also I want to point out the beat here is interesting because if you listen to the hi-hat, if you're counting off of the hi-hat, the placement of the kick drum is interesting. I mean, that certainly takes a little bit of syncopation to get something like that down. It's probably very natural for Ian by this point, but sometimes, you can write something that's a little bit tricky, but it sounds good, very smooth. But yeah, just kind of like focus in on the hi-hat and the kick a little bit, not the toms, just the kick and hi-hat. And it's really interesting what he's playing there.
Own ways, not so much as a passing wave. Our love is on hold until the next call. Forget the first two because just like you, I don't have much to talk about. All we do is scream and shout. All we do is scream and shout.
There's the rattling bones once again. I love that sound. Yeah, I mean, this sounds really good. I think the transitions are very smooth. I like that they're, going from this interesting verse beat into this, chorus beat. And obviously, we've got a little bit more chorus here. The transitions, everything are really good. I'm a fan of those. I love the way that Ian sounds on this. At first, I thought maybe he was getting drowned out a little bit in that section, but, listening back again through the DAW as opposed to the media player, I can actually hear him a lot better. So big difference between those two. I hope that what you guys are hearing is the latter, where you can hear the vocals coming through over the hi-hat and the keys. But yeah, this is good. I should mention earlier, it's one of the longer songs on the album at 4 minutes and 19 seconds. Not an incredibly lengthy song by any standards, but one of the longer ones on this album. I love the return to chaos, of course. I already mentioned I'm a big fan of that part. But where did that synth come from at the end? I did not hear that all the way through the song, and that is an intriguing sound. Sounded a little bit robotic monster, I want to say. Definitely something that I can imagine from like a sci-fi action adventure where, what was the one I just saw? I can't remember who was in it now. But there was one that I saw recently on Netflix where they were training for some mission. Right off the bat, the guy's brother got killed, and I think he was the guy that played Jack Reacher on the, I want to say, Amazon series. I don't know because I didn't see it. Really big, like hulking guy, and he and his brother had made a pact to join some specific military group, and his brother got killed right after that. And he went on to, to say, well, I have to do this for my brother, and this is what we were going to do, so I'm going to do it without him and all that. And as they go out into their big mission to, I guess, see whether they're going to make it through the group or not, because he got into the group training. But anyway, so long story short, they discover this incredible robotic alien ship thingy. I think that was the word that they used in the movie, was thingy. And it starts chasing them, and it just has that similar like cold robotic oscillating feel to it. I really love that sound. I think it's fantastic. And I've got a couple sounds like that, similar to that I've used myself from time to time. But yeah, there's definitely something that can be a little chilling, and you couple that with the keyboard that we get in the beginning, and then this last part here where it repeats, and those really work together. I like that they ended on that sort of cold note. Feels a little bit like the ending of Solitaire, to be honest. But anyway, or was it Solitaire? I might be thinking of a different song, because I think Solitaire fades out on just kind of a jam. I do see this being a song that they could potentially do live. I think that there's a lot of places they could take it if they wanted to extend this one out for some fun. Maybe on one of the nights where they have the venue for a little bit longer. Sometimes it's an hour and a half, sometimes it's an hour and 45, sometimes they get 2 hours. All depends on the venue, the city ordinances, what time they're allowed to start, what time they have to stop by, depending on how close you are to residential zones, that sort of thing. There's a lot involved, so much involved, which is why I applaud people who put tours together, because it's insane to me that that's even a thing that you can do when you realize what all the dynamic factors are that have to come together to make it work. And it's so funny. You look at somebody's tour schedule and you're like, well, wait a minute, why are they playing over here, then going all the way over there, then coming back over here? It makes no sense. Well, that's why, because that's the best way that they could schedule it and get in as many shows as they could, with the most reasonable possible logistics. Remember, they're not just competing with, their what city they're in, the route they have to take. They're also competing with what nights the venues are open and what nights they're not filled with a different band. So like, hey, maybe we wanted to play here on Tuesday, but it turns out Guns N' Roses is playing there. So we have to wait. We'll have to do this other city instead. And then we can circle back and then hit that on the way back to the next place or whatever. Like there's so much of that goes on. And it's really an amazing dance of just, it's a ballet to put a tour together. But anyway, I could see this being one that they could do live, and I think it would be really interesting to hear it in a live setting, see maybe where they go with it in the way of a longer jam. Could be a lot of fun. I like the song overall. I mean, I have a couple of nitpicky things about it, but overall, I think it's a cool song. I love the mood of it, and you guys know what a sucker am for a good mood. And yeah, it just feels good. I just, a couple of issues with the arrangement for me, but overall a very good song. And we got to hear Ian Pace come alive a little bit in this one, which was really nice. Love those, especially the snare flourishes that he does during that crazy part. A lot of fun, just a lot of fun, and great vocal. Got to hear some bass, like really good song overall. So I would say thumbs up for me on this one overall. And now I'm perplexed, but we've got a couple more to go, guys. This is not over just yet. Up next in our next episode is my new movie, and that is where we will end our week as we come back next week to get the last proper album track and the bonus track, which I have not listened to yet. My first listen will be doing a critical review, so that one's going to be interesting. That has never happened. I don't know. That did happen once on the the other bonus track that I covered. I think Dick Pimple. I don't think I listened to that ahead of doing the review of it. So that was an interesting one. So this will be interesting too, to see what it's all about. It's got an interesting name. Could read a couple of different things into that, but we will get there next week. For now, guys, you have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow for my new movie. Thanks for listening to Deep Purple Smoke on the Podcast, a tour of the entire Deep Purple studio recordings. Please remember to give the show a rating on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening. Leave a comment and tell your friends. I also have a Patreon set up if you'd like to support the show. You can also write to me at smokeonthepodcast@gmail.com. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and thanks for listening.